Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? It's wonderful to see all of you. It's a beautiful morning. I'm Frank Zamalan. Terry Zamalan and I want to welcome you all to Awakening Way Spiritual Community. If you're new, if you're not new, we welcome you anyway. It's a new month, a new day, a new time for all of us as we begin to move out of this insanity we know as COVID. Just before we came on, some of the folks on here were talking about when we go back to the pavilion. And yes, we are looking into that. It will be within the next couple of months. You know, Awakening Waves is an amazing community. It started with a clear, profound message from the divine that a community was needed. And the community just grew. It just happened. We don't really take any responsibility for that or take credit for that. It happened. And it happened because the divine was in it, moving through it and as it. You know, we're a community that follows the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes, the New Thought teachings of Ernest Holmes. We believe that there's a golden thread of truth and love that winds its way through all great spiritual traditions. And that thread is the thread of mysticism, of mystical and metaphysical understanding that the divine is in each of us, as each of us. It is in all of life, as all of life. And the entire reality that we know is a reality that exists within the divine. And that means that each and every one of us is a divine being in our own right. We are a splinter, if you will, of a divine hologram. We are a splinter of that divine mind. The mind I use is the divine mind. My small, finite understanding is part of the divine mind. And that's true for each and every one of us here. And it's for that reason that we know that prayer works, because when we speak our word, we speak it into the divine mind. And it's glorious. You know, each of us came here this morning by different routes. Some of us came from a traditional Christian background, some from a Jewish background, some from some other background, some Eastern teaching perhaps. And some of us may have been raised in a New Thought teaching. But however we got here, we're here today by a divine appointment. We're here because we're called to hear something, to learn something new. One of the TV programs that I particularly like, the main character is always telling the people who work for him, go learn something. Go learn something. And that's our job all the time, in every moment, is to go learn something. So whatever path you're on, whatever brought you in our doors, and wherever you go when you leave here today, for right now, for this sacred moment, welcome home. We've been waiting for you. I'd like you to join me now in a invocation, knowing that there is a divine presence within each of us, that is each of us. A divine and infinite mind, an infinite life, an infinite love that expresses itself through all of life. And the wisdom of that one mind is in and as each one of us, each living sentient being expresses that one mind in its own unique way. I know that it's true for me. I know that it's true for each of us on this call. And I know for this morning that when Dr. Terry speaks, she speaks from that unique understanding, that unique wisdom of the one mind that she possesses. I know that our musicians, as they perform, sing those divine harmonies of the Most High, bringing to us that wonderful, heart-centered wisdom. I know that each of us hears exactly what we need to hear this morning as we're all here together. I've spoken a word of love. That love has impelled the law. This morning's gathering is a divine unfolding already complete. Knowing that that is true, I release, I let go, and I say, and so it is. Namaste. I am so alive. 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 I am
Namaste. Can you hear me? Good, good. So it's a beautiful, beautiful day in the neighborhood. The last time I talked, I was talking about that there were these trees that, well, I was still waiting for them to get their leaves and blossom. And then it seemed like just like overnight, boom, there they were. And it feels like spring is here now, doesn't it? It's beautiful, beautiful, just perfect, just perfect. And thinking about this last year, I feel like we've spent a lot of time and a lot of energy focusing on illness and death and dying. A lot of our energy has gone into that during this past year. We've been so busy, sheltering and making sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and keeping our loved ones safe, that we kind of haven't really been living, have we? I mean, yes, we are alive, but have we really, really, fully been living? I, I don't think so. You know, it's necessary that we take care of ourselves and we take care of our loved ones. That's absolutely mandatory, and doing what's necessary. But you know, what we've been doing also is that we've been projecting living into the future. Does that make sense? I mean, so we say, you know, when this is all over, then we can do such and such. When this is all done, then we can really start to live. When this finally finishes, we can have fun again. Oh, we need to rethink that completely. Yeah. Our seed of awakening for this month is life, life, life itself, life in all of its magnificence and all of its glory. Life. Thomas Carlyle said this. He said, one life, a little gleam of time between two eternities. A little gleam of time between two eternities. And so here we are, living in this little gleam of time between two eternities. And what I know is recognizing that and understanding that makes this life that we have very, very precious, very precious. And when you think about it, of course, it's the eternal question: what exactly is life anyway? Well, we believe we know what it is. And Frank mentioned it in his little intro there. And so, you know, sometimes this happens. There really is only one mind. And so basically, Frank gave my talk for me this morning. So I'm just going to support Frank's talk this morning with what I have to say. But he shared with us the idea of this one mind. And that is true, that there is only one universal intelligence, one source energy, one substance from which everything came. We are an inseparable part of, inseparable, indivisible. We are this individualized expression of this one life, in it and as it. One original life, and we are part of it. Now, I can understand that. You know, I've been in this teaching for a long time. I understand it, that I'm part of this one universal life itself. But here's the thing, you know, if I pinch myself, it hurts, which makes me feel like this body that I'm living in is actually my life. That feels much more real to me because, you know, it hurts, feels funny. It feels real. It feels real. And I just want to remind you about this idea that I read about just recently. It was an article that was written by a minister, Reverend Kelly Isola, and she shared this. It's not a new idea. She just brought it forward, but she shared the idea of the acorn as a perfect metaphor for life itself. And it's the perfect metaphor because the acorn, yes, is the seed of an oak tree. But within the seed is the oak tree itself, resting in potential. So the acorn is both a seed and it is the fully grown oak tree at the same time. Now, this is our truth also, because we are both spiritual and divine, and we are also human. We are both. Inherent in us, living within us, is the full potential of spirit. Always, just like that acorn. We are spiritually, divinely magnificent, and we are human as well. We need to embrace both of those ideas because we are both. I like to say we're spiritual beings being spiritually human. That is our truth. And how do I say this? When we can come to understand that the spiritual presence that is in us is literally living life through us, it changes who we think we are, who we believe we are. Life is the gift of God to herself. You see, the divine in its essence, in order to have sensory experiences, must create life forms so that it can experience those real life things that we talk about. So when I pinch my arm, what's happening? It's not just me, the human, that is feeling that. The divine is experiencing that as well. Now, it's easy for us to believe and accept our humanness. No problem. We can go on and on about our humanness, but seems to be extremely difficult for us to accept and embrace our divinity, our own holiness. And Frank and I know this really, really, really well, because when you teach classes in spirituality, that's what you're doing, is you are introducing people to the reality of who they are. That's a not an always easy concept to introduce or an easy concept to accept. So why is it that accepting our divinity is so very hard? Why is that? What is it in us that just will not allow us to believe that that's true? What is preventing us from getting up, getting out of bed every single day, leaping up and saying, wow, what a magnificent life I am living right now? What prevents us from saying, look at this incredible world that I live in? Amazing. And what prevents us right now from acknowledging and recognizing the gift and the blessing of being able to be here today, right now? How did we get here? Aren't we living miracles? Isn't this life the most incredible thing that's ever been? Shouldn't we be shouting that to the rooftops and embracing the truth of who we are? But we don't. We don't. Well, I have a theory. I have one of my theories, proven by me, not scientifically, but it's what I believe. My theory is that the reason we do not accept our divinity is that we just don't get it. We do not get it. We don't get it. We don't understand. We feel like it can't be true for us. I mean, how can we be divine? We've got a million things, a million excuses that we use. Okay, like, well, I can't possibly be divine because I've done some really bad things in my life, and I can't be divine. I am not like Mother Teresa. And how could I possibly be divine? Because I remember when I was 6, I stole that piece of bubble gum from the mini mart. I can't be divine. And the other thing is that, sometimes I don't even believe in God. How could I possibly be divine? How is it possible that I'm holy, that I'm divine? Well, we just don't get it. We do not get it. We think that we need to get permission, that we need to have the right ticket, we need to have the right barcode, we need to have the right password to make it into that, I don't know, that happy place, that holy place, that place of awareness of the divine. We think that there's something special that we have to be or do to be able to be divine. This is not true. And if this is what we think, we just do not get it. And here's what we don't get. What we don't get is that it is impossible for us not to be divine. If we believe that there's one life, that there's one substance, that there's one beingness, and that everything came from this source, this substance, then we are from that and we are of that. And that stuff, that substance is living itself through us, as us right now. So it is impossible for us to not be divine. And you know what? We can fight that, we can deny it, we can resist it all we want. Go ahead. You can do that. But it does not change a thing. Like it or not, you are divine. That presence, however it is that we understand it, is within you, living your life as you. Astounding. We can't really be in that awareness of that truth all the time, but we could certainly spend more time recognizing it. And doesn't it feel so much more expansive to understand that truth? Wow, I'm pretty darn incredible. I'm pretty amazing. And so is everybody else. Because we're all that. So when you start thinking that you're not divine, that you're only human, recognize that you're not getting it right then at that moment. And remember that it is impossible for you not to be divine. If you were not divine, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have been created. You wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't be sitting here right now. The truth is that we really are much more spiritual beings than we are human beings, but somehow we have turned that experience upside down in living. We just glom on to the sensory. We glom on to our humanness. And that's what causes us confusion. And that's what creates a sense of separation. Spiritual leader Mooji, maybe some of you have heard of Mooji. I encourage you to go online if you want to know more about him. He has some wonderful meditations. But this is what he says. He says, when he's talking about who we really are, he says, there's our divine natural state of being, and then there is our adopted sense of personhood. I've never heard it expressed that way. There is our natural, true state of being, and then there is our adopted sense of personhood. So somehow we have put all of our eggs in our human basket. We believe that that is who we are, and we have kind of push that other thing, that piece of divinity off to the side because we can't see it. We can't see it. And that is true unless we consciously choose to see it that way, perceive it that way, perceive the divinity in things. This is what he said. He reminds us that we really are the formless, having the experience of form. We are the timeless, having the experience of time. We are the imperishable, having the experience of mortality. And we are the pure, having the experience of imperfection. Now I can say those words and run them together, and they'll have as much meaning as you choose to give it, but that it doesn't deny the truth. And the truth is that first and foremost, we are formless. We are timeless. We are imperishable. And we are pure. We are that, formless, timeless, imperishable, and pure. We don't have to do anything to be that. This is who we are. And we're just having these experiences of being in a form and living in time and being mortal beings, and imperfect mortal beings at that. Mooji says that we are like the fragrance of a flower, inseparable. You know, the fragrance can't be there without the flower, right? They are inseparable, and we are like that. How wonderful to know that this life is so incredible, and that we are more than we seem to be when we look in the mirror, more than we seem to be when we see each other walking down the street. And we're all that. You know, we know that we can never completely understand the divine. We know that. Any language that we use, any concepts that we come up with is just us in our humanness, in our form that we're in right now. It's our attempt to try to understand the divine in one way or another. And what if we just decided not to try to understand with our minds? What if we tried not to think so hard about how this all works? You know, study, study, study. What if we just accepted it as the truth for ourselves and just allowed ourselves to be that? Wow. What if we just gave up all those ideas and concepts and just accepted the truth? See, the thing about the one life is this one life just knows to express, to expand, to grow, to live, to be. That's what it does. That's what it is. That's what it's being in and as us. That one life is always, always seeking ways and opportunities to express life. I read some time ago, actually, this story about this plant. Actually, it was a plant. It was a Judean date tree, And the Judean date tree was the seed of this Judean date tree was found in an archaeological dig on Mount Masada in Israel. And they took this seed to their lab, and this seed of this Judean date tree was so precious because the Judean date tree was extinct and had been extinct for 2,000 years. So they took the small seed and they planted the seed, not knowing what would happen. And it was important for them to try to grow this tree because it's believed that this date tree has medicinal, qualities, that it has the potential of being a cure for cancer or a toothache. I mean, who knows what remedies this date tree can provide. So they planted this 2,000-year-old seed, and it grew. And it grew. Now, I haven't followed up on it to see how big it is now, but at the time that the article was written, it was already 5 feet tall. And this was several years ago, actually. So what this shows is that, you think about this little seed. It's lying dormant in the ground. Now, like the acorn, it has the potential of being the Judean date tree. But there it is, just lying dormant for 2,000 years, unable to grow, unable to stretch and reach towards the sun. But you know what? Life happened anyway. That full potential came into being. It was just a little delayed. And so it is, so it was, so it is now the tree. From 2,000 years being in hibernation in the earth. Life could not be suppressed. That life of that seed had to come forth and express in all of its magnificence. So what about us? Are we like the little seed lying dormant in the ground, not reaching our full potential of livingness? Or are we like the seed planted in the soil that is now growing and coming into the full recognition of its own potential? That is our question today. That is our question for the month. How fully are we living? We need to find kind of an attitude, a purpose, an affirmation. I don't care what you use, but we need to find a way where we focus on the quality of living fully. Not just living, not just getting by, but living fully. So I took the word live, L-I-V-E, and I made a list of some things that we could do to help us live more fully. Maybe they will help. It's always good to hear ideas. So here's one. L, love deeply. No one lives fully if they do not love. Love is necessary. And when I say love, I don't mean it has to be for a partner or that. I'm talking about love itself. The ability to love. The ability to love and to be loving and to be loved. all of these incredible experiences of love itself. You know, we can love the day. We love our pets. Focus on the idea of love. And the truth is that there are times when we do not feel loving. And for whatever reason, whatever is going on in our lives, we just don't feel loving in any way. And our heart starts to shut down. And we lose that sense of love. Spiritual teacher Joan Borisenko, she created her own little metta prayer in one of the books that she wrote. And one of the lines from the metta prayer that she says is, "May my heart remain open. May my heart remain open." And so when times of stress, when times of anger or upset, when those times come when we just feel like I cannot be loving, I feel so shut down right now. If we could just put our hands on our hearts and just say to ourselves, may my heart remain open. May my heart remain open. We may not be able to move into love in the moment, but what I know is that our heart will begin to soften. And when the heart softens, there's an opening that takes place there. And when that opening happens, the possibility of love coming and healing happening take place. So, love deeply. The next one, I invite joy. Invite joy. Ernest Holmes says, life is enthusiastic joy. And the fastest way to celebrate life is to laugh, right? So, go to a funny movie, read a funny book. You want to laugh? Go to the park somewhere and watch dogs. Oh my gosh. How can you not laugh? They're just so delightful. Learn to tell a joke. Here's my joke. The magician was driving down the road. Then he turned into a driveway. Think about it. Think about it. Then he turned into a driveway. I couldn't resist that joke. So my suggestion is that to invite joy, get over yourself. Just kick back. Get real. Get relaxed. Have fun. Do something crazy. Well, not too crazy. Crazy and safe. Do something that invites the energy of joy into your being. And if you are joyful, I guarantee you're going to be living life a lot more fully. So invite joy. V, value everything. Value everything. Now, initially, when I thought about this, I thought about, this is valuing something is just another way to practice gratitude. So, the idea that I initially thought of was, like we do with our gratitude journals, where we just start valuing or being grateful for everything that we have. And I thought, well, for this, you could actually like make an inventory of all the things that you value and that you appreciate. And that's a good idea. I've never really done that, where I actually made an inventory. Wow, that could go on and on and on and on and on. But in addition to all of the things that we see and that we have, it's also important to value our experiences, to value our past, to value our pains and our sufferings, as well as our joys and happiness. Value everything. And that way you are encompassing your entire life, aren't you? All that it has been and all that it will be. Value everything. And for E is enter the stillness often. I put the word often on the end of that because I could say enter the stillness, but what I mean is do it as often as possible. Meditation, prayer, contemplation, just sitting, looking at a tree, just looking out the window, just noticing and being aware of in the silence of your own mind without any mind chatter, the beauty of a rose or how is it possible that cat fur can be so soft? Just being still and consciously choosing to go into the stillness as often as possible. It allows us to be not only to just rest our minds and our hearts and our bodies, but in the stillness is where we commune with the divine. And what are we communing with when we commune with the divine? What do we know? What have I been saying this morning? We're communing with our deepest self, with our own deep life, with a big L, our deep life. So when we stop and rest in the stillness, we're just connecting with that magnificent part of who we are. So I know that Frank was talking about this earlier, that things are changing. You know, we're going to be re-entering into the world. And what I know is that as a result of everything that has happened, we have all changed. We've changed. There's just no getting around it. You know, I think for all of us, we've probably all become a little more introspective just because, you know, being in isolation just naturally invites us to turn to introspection. I think the experiences that have gone on have opened us and stirred our compassion. I think that we've become more appreciative of life in all of its forms. Life in all of its forms. And you know, my eyesight is not what it was at one time. And so I always have a couple of those magnifying glasses, you know, the ones, the old-fashioned ones, the magnifying glasses when I really want to read some really, really, really tiny, tiny print. But I thought, you know, really this time that we've spent this past year has allowed us to look at a lot of life like it's under a magnifying glass, you know, much more up close and personal. It's allowed us to see and appreciate beauty in things that we never would have imagined that we thought we could. We have changed. We have. And so as we move back into life as it unfolds, and it's not going to be exactly like it used to be, but it will be. It won't continue to be like this. Yeah, that's what we know for sure. I just want us to not lose all the benefits that we've gained from this experience. There have been many. There has been a lot of suffering as well, and that is happening as well. But if we can take all of the good that happened to us, and if we can contemplate it and grow with it, and do these practices of loving deeply and inviting joy and valuing everything and spending time in the stillness, if we can practice these things, I believe that our lives, when we go out into the world, are going to be far different than they were before this whole experience happened. I think that we have been bettered, if that was a word, which of course it isn't, but bettered. I think we have been bettered as a result of this experience in so many, many ways. And so I want to encourage you and invite you to drop your resistance to accepting and acknowledging the truth of who you are. Just say, okay, all right. I get it now. I get it. I understand. And maybe I can't quite feel it yet. If I know it's true, and if I keep believing it's true, I'm going to feel it. That much I know is true. And so my blessing for you today is go out today and live life to the fullest. Take a leap and go for it. Be the you that you were meant to be. Life is good. So let it be, and so it is. Namaste.
Your breast, oh wonderful,
Thank you, guys. That was wonderful. That was soul shine. I want to thank Jimmy and all of the musicians for the wonderful job they've done during this period of time to maintain the quality of music that we've always known in our community. Thank you very much. And Dr. Terry, thank you for that amazing talk this morning. It was wonderful. I really, really appreciate it. A couple of announcements that we need to make. Next week, Timber Hawkeye will be back with us. And the week after that, Susan Jones will be speaking. So Terry and I are going to be here with you, but we'll take a couple of weeks off from talking. A reminder that this coming Friday, April the 16th, from 8:30 until 6, from 8 o'clock, excuse me, until 6:30, there's going to be a free virtual mini retreat provided by the Affiliated New Thought Network. That's our association. We're an independent church of religious science, but Anton, Affiliated New Thought Network, is an association of Unity, Divine Science, and religious science churches, all of whom are independents. There's going to be a wonderful retreat with amazing speakers and breakout sessions, so you'll be able to communicate with people from other communities, and also really, really incredible music, including our friend Marcy. Many of you are familiar with Marcy. She's been to our community a couple of times, and she's just an amazing talent. That's going to be this coming Friday from 8 until 6:30. So please go on. If you want to take part in it, go online and register. You can go for an hour, you can go for the whole day, but you have to register in advance so they know how many people are going to be on, to negotiate with Zoom how much bandwidth they need. A reminder also that on Wednesday, May 12th and May 19th, Jan Lynch is going to be teaching her Divine Flow workshop. And that will also be virtual, of course, as everything is right now. But she has asked that you have the book in advance and that you have read it, part of it, and be familiar with it before the class starts. That book is, the class costs $40, and the book, which is sold separately, is available from Jan Lynch. So if you are interested in taking the class, or send an email to awakeningways@thegrid.net, register for the class, and mention in your email that you need the book, unless of course, you already have it. I want to thank all of you for continuing your tithes, your wonderful tithes. In spite of our not being able to be together, the tithes continue to come in. And if we're not in the black right now, we're very close to it. It's kind of amazing that Awakening Ways has continued to support us as we've gone through this whole thing, and we couldn't be here without you. So thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. Reminder that we're a community that strongly believes in prayer. And if you have a prayer request for something that you want us to pray for you for a week, then please send an email again to awakeningways@thegrid.net and put in the subject line prayer request. Let us know what your prayer is. And all the practitioners and ministers, I think there's 11 of us, I'm not sure, will be happy to hold you in prayer for the entire week. And I think that's it. With that, let me give you a benediction and we'll enjoy our day. And take a breath and relax. And know with me that there's one divine life, one infinite light filling the whole universe with itself. One divine love, eternal and infinite, holding each and every life form in its embrace. I declare for each of us that the light of God illuminates our lives, illuminates our minds as the wisdom of God fills us. I know that the love of God fills our hearts that we may hold the world in the embrace of infinite and unconditional love. I know that the life of God animates every cell in our body, holding us in that image of perfection that it is. And we are so blessed. And so it is. Namaste.